safer world is possible, and together we can and will make it happen. Thank you.
When you show up in community, you find that group that makes you feel like home, but oftentimes you also find yourself again.
Well, I think what they've done is one of the most courageous and fearless things I've seen. I think I think to walk away from all of that, the public grief that we know about, but to all of that family pain. Well, we should think of the Queen as a great-grandmother, and we should think of Prince Charles as a dad. I mean, they will all be suffering from this hugely. And Harry has chosen to walk away from all of that to protect his wife and his children. And I think that you got the analysis of the media totally right, that the angriest media is from the angriest people, or the people feeding Mr. and Mrs. Angry. But I think all of us need to look at ourselves and think of this as a family that's been blowing itself apart, probably no more seriously than many families are going through or have gone through and haven't been able to walk away. But we're thinking of these as, if we think of them as human beings, as sons and daughters and sisters-in-laws and mother-in-laws and great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers, our hearts should be bleeding for these two.
I mean, you're not in any way suggesting they should be bleeding more for these two than for people, stuck in a dinghy in the middle of the English Channel or living in Syria at the time, or even people using food banks. But it's not either or, is it? This is one of the great mysteries of our era.
It's not either or, and we are showing ourselves more and more to be a nation with less and less compassion less and less tolerance of different people, different choices. I mean, that was what was going on in the family. I mean, without knowing any of the detail or any of the personalities involved, it was differences of opinion, it's differences of definition of duty, it's differences of definition of loyalty. And for Meghan, what she was being asked to become was completely impossible for her to be who she really was.
It was "Can you protect us" as well that resonated with me, or we just wanted some help. We wanted some protection.
Can you help me? No.
Because what we're being exposed to is different from what everybody else has been exposed to. So the fact that we're getting less help and support is the argument they made. It actually makes sense of everything. But if you don't understand, then you are much more easily manipulated into a kind of unfocused anger, aren't you, or into indignation?
And we see this with every rabbit hole and conspiracy theory going. The anti-vaxxers, the anti-maskers, the Bill Gates theorists. I mean, the sensible, intelligent people get hooked up in this because they're only exposed to their own bubble and they're terrified of being wrong.
I guess we are all terrified of being wrong at some stage in our life. But what I saw,
well, some of us less than others.
Well, no, some of us have written a book about it, Adrian. But no one likes a self-publicist.
And I've read them both.
Oh,
I think that this ability to be vulnerable and wrong and human is what they've shown us in that interview. I believed every word of it. I don't believe they were mincing their words. They did announce at the beginning of the interview that they weren't being paid for it.
They want to get their version of events on the record. And
they want to get their version of events on the record to appeal to the reasonable, sensible, rational, nuanced thinkers in society, which are fewer and fewer and fewer.
Welcome to Sussexful. I'm your host, Emma, and I'm so glad you're here. Today is October 13th, 2025, and we are talking about something powerful, emotional, and deeply human. James O'Brien and a caller on LBC spoke about Prince Harry and Meghan with honesty and compassion. Their words cut through the noise and reminded us of what truly matters: empathy, love, and understanding. The caller said it perfectly. Our hearts should be bleeding for Harry and Meghan. They faced constant attacks, lies, and cruelty, yet they continue to show strength and grace. They remind us that protecting your family and standing for truth is never weakness. It is courage. What Prince Harry did will be remembered. He chose love over power. He chose peace over privilege. That's the mark of a real man. A man who lives with integrity. A man who leads with heart. The Bible reminds us exactly what this kind of compassion means. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, it says, "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." That verse tells us that when we share in others' pain, when our hearts bleed for those who suffer, we live out the very purpose of love. Another verse, Romans chapter 12, verse 15 says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn." That's what humanity should look like. We lift one another. We feel each other's struggles. We don't tear people down for living their truth. James O'Brien's conversation reminded us that society is losing its humanity when people stop putting themselves in someone else's shoes. The rise of online hate has made too many forget what empathy looks like. But voices like James's bring hope. They remind us that decency still exists, that light still shines through the noise. To James, the caller, and everyone at LBC who continues to speak truth, thank you. You remind the world that, well, kindness is power and compassion is strength. To our Sussexful family, thank you for standing on the side of truth and love. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Sussexful. Hey, and don't forget to share this channel with every Sussex supporter you know. Together, we will keep spreading positivity. We will keep standing for Harry and Meghan, who show us that living with love and integrity is always the higher path. And as the Bible teaches, when we lift others, we rise too. Compassion and humanity in the face of criticism. As the caller so eloquently expressed, true compassion and humanity should be the driving force in how we respond to the experiences of others, even those in the public eye. Rather than succumb to the temptation of harsh criticism and judgment, we must strive to put ourselves in the shoes of those facing difficult circumstances. The gentleman's insightful perspective serves as a poignant reminder that maintaining our humanity, even in the face of adversity, is a profound and admirable quality. By embracing empathy and understanding, we not only uplift those in need, but we also elevate ourselves and the collective spirit of our society. The caller's impassioned words, "y'all," really reflect a deep well of empathy and understanding for the plight of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. In his view, Harry should be praised for his courageous decision to leave the constraints of royal life behind, choosing instead to prioritize his family's well-being and happiness over the demands of the institution. The caller believes that Harry's bold move will cement his legacy as one of the greatest men of our time, a leader willing to sacrifice his own comfort and status in order to forge a more fulfilling path. This caller's compassionate perspective stands in stark contrast to the cruel commentary and, professional hating that too often dominates the public discourse around the young couple. By encouraging us to put ourselves in Harry and Meghan's shoes, the caller reminds us of the fundamental human dignity that should be afforded to all, regardless of their station in life. In a world that seems, honestly, increasingly divided and disconnected, we are losing our very humanity by stubbornly refusing to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, is a crucial skill that is rapidly dwindling. Social media has enabled us to become professional haters. quick to judge and condemn without any genuine attempt to understand the lived experiences and perspectives of those different from ourselves. This lack of compassion and willingness to walk a mile in another's moccasins is a disturbing trend that threatens to erode the very foundations of our shared humanity. Only by reclaiming our capacity for empathy can we hope to bridge the growing divides and reconnect with one another in a spirit of mutual understanding and respect. The caller's words, described as an insightful voice, resonate with a profound understanding of the human condition. Their message is one of compassion, dignity, and humanity, a beacon in a world that too often succumbs to the harsh glare of judgment and criticism. This voice reminds us that there are still reasonable minds among the living, minds willing to empathize, to put themselves in the shoes of another, and see the world through a lens of empathy rather than hatred. In an age where social media fuels the fires of vitriol, this caller's words are a much-needed salve, a gentle reminder that our shared humanity should always triumph over our individual insecurities and desire to condemn. James O'Brien was filled with a profound sense of gratitude after hearing the caller's heartfelt perspective. The host expressed chills of joy as the caller's message resonated deeply, reminding him of the importance of compassion, dignity, and humanity in our discourse. O'Brien thanked the caller and the entire LBC team for facilitating this crucial discussion, acknowledging that reasonable voices like this one give him hope amidst the sea of vitriol. The host recognized the caller's profound insight and applauded Prince Harry's decision to prioritize his family's well-being, believing that history will remember him as one of the greatest men who ever lived. O'Brien lamented the loss of our shared humanity, urging listeners to put themselves in others' shoes and resist the temptation to become professional haters fueled by social media.